Right, well, we're here with yet another set. So this is box number 5. So those of you with repairs in, we're on box number 5. So this is a Uniden 100, it's a later black fronted one. So we'll need to do the capacitors which are necessary. I'll look at what the customer's written. So I'll get this connected up. It's quite late on in the evening. And I think we've got enough time just to go through the initial checks. It's come with a Uniden mic. Which has got all the screws. So plug the test equipment in. Switch the power supply on initially 12.8 volts at 350 milliamps just to make sure the set's not going to play any thingies. It's drawing 157 milliamps, so we'll now reset to 13.8 volts. At 1.6 amps. So I'm going to switch picture in picture on. I've got his letter there, we'll have a look at that in a moment when we've looked at these initial readings. Okay. So it's doing more than 3 watts, it's doing 3.2 watts. Now frequency, I've only had the test equipment on for 5 minutes, so we won't be stable on that yet. Oh, I didn't show you the trap with the power meter there, I've showed you the wrong meter. I'll just go back into power. We're on the 3 watt scale, it was full scale deflection, so I flicked over to the 30 watt scale, it's 3.2. So we'll now look at frequency, should be 2779125, is spot on. These aren't adjustable, it's spot on. And it's lucky it is. Don't know where the pen's gone. I've just had it, it's there. So 2779126 is spot on. Deviation. Wallow. It's 1.2 kilohertz. So nobody's going to hear him on that. So now we'll go over to the receive. So we'll just dial in the frequency 79125. We're taking that radiogram back to the London customer's relative in Essex, because we're not going to go into London. It would be alright if he had a driveway and all that, but he lives in an apartment, so there's no way, because we would want to be talking to him and demonstrating it, not waiting for traffic wardens. So that's going to waste most of tomorrow, but it's worthwhile because you know, he's getting a nice piece of kit back. So 2779126. See whether we can hear that. We can. So put the cyanide meter on. We'll switch the inset camera over to that. And so what we want to do is see what the sensitivity is. And the sensitivity is 8.2. So 0.82 microvolts for 12 dB hsad. So yes, it works, and yes, it needs some looking at. So we're going to have both lids off because I've got to change 4 of the capacitors in this. There's 2 470 microfarad ones, and there are 2 220 microfarad ones, which if you don't change them this week, they'll pack up next week, and that is embarrassing. Oh, I've only just said this radio in for service, and now it doesn't work. If you heard that with people with motor cars, they'd take it in for MOT, which of course is there to test the vehicle on that particular day. I only had it MOT'd last week, and now there's a light on saying there's a brake malfunction. Yes, what happens? The worst thing possible was when we were in the telly trade. You get a TV in with no picture. Sorry, no. You get a TV in with no sound. And whilst you're working on it, the line output transformer fails. And then you've got like a 40 odd quid job instead of the £7 job you started off with. How do you tell the customer that? You know, it went wrong while you were working on it. It wasn't your fault. Very, very difficult situation. Or one way you spend an awful lot of money getting the picture back, and it's got a dreadful tube in it. Oh yeah, I thought it'd be a better picture when we'd had it fixed. Well, it isn't. Oh yeah, I mean that is so knackered. That is the worst one I've ever seen in one of these. Let's see if we can zoom in on that while the soldering iron warms up. So you've got this heat shrink tubing which goes over the capacitors with the writing on for what the values are. And on this one, which is one of the prime culprits, it's been so hot that it's receded, so it looks like the thing's been circumcised. So that is indicative that the car's had whatever cars it's been on or whatever it's been connected to is actually overvolted. Because I think these are 16 volt rated, so it's been above 16 volts or right on the cusp of 16 volts for that to happen. So we need to change that one, that one, that one, and that one, and then we should be okay. So we'll unsolder the speaker. Good. I've been just to test that. I'll whip this out. I'll do this one right now, and then we can just see whether it's reading anything like the same value that it should. I'll get the solder sucker on this later. I will just cut the power. It's not switched on, but you don't know what goes through the on and off switch and what doesn't. So it is. Oh, well, it's come away from the sleeve. So it's negative towards me. So we'll put this on the ESR meter. So it's reading 417, and it should be 470. So it's only reading slightly low, but of course we're going to change that. Just make sure we know the negatives there. Can't read that. I do have a service manual, you know, but it would it just makes it a bit quicker for me. So we'll take that one out as well. negative to the top, positive to the bottom, and we'll check the ESR on this one. Now this looks fine, but it still needs to be changed. I'll just check that again because that says it's faulty. No, it is actually faulty. So the one that looks fine is faulty. So the third one, negative to the top, plus to the bottom. Let's see if we can read that one. That's faulty as well. And then finally, the one that causes the display to fail, or causes the display to extinguish when this is faulty. It takes away the 5-volt rail. Negative to the top, positive there's a white ring for positive, but I can't always be sure of reading that. This is our final one we're testing today, and then we'll read what his letter says. It probably says don't change any capacitors. That's faulty as well. So wise choice, Mr. 21. So I'll go over to the other room and get those out of stock and see what his letter says. Oh, it's a long letter. Gentlemen, it's Matt at Walsall. Yeah, I understand that these Uniden sets require some of the capacitors to be changed. So I'll leave that in your capable hands. So, yeah, general service, and he's aware of the capacitors need change. But not a lot of money, they're like 45 pence each or something, so it's not a big deal. So I will go and do that, and then we'll restart the video. Right, so that's the 4 capacitors done. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do the VSO later. I just want to see if we can get anything quickly out of this transmitter. So, are we still in picture? Yes. Are we on the right camera? No. Not that one, that one. Switch power supply on. Switch radio on. I bet that's improved the sound ad straight away, because one of those is in the audio. So, where were we before? I've already lost. It's 3.2 watts. It's now 3.4 watts. It's just on the verge of 3.5 there. I don't think we're going to get much further with it. It's 3.5. Well, on a par with new set then, isn't it? So let's go. He says one of the problems is low power. So we've got 3.5 watts on high power. So switch it to low power. We've got 4.5 watts. Am I reading this wrongly? I am, aren't I? What a numpty. It's 4 watts with the switch in. It's doing 4.5. Right. So we know those are peaked, but we're going to check again. So that's peaked. That's 4.5, and I'll have to check with the service manual as to whether this is tuned down for 4 watts or tuned up. Chances are it's tuned down. There we are, 4 watts spot on. Now we'll go to low power. I'm presuming there's a preset I can't remember. There is, it's there. So it's this preset to bring it to 0.4 of a watt. So we'll switch it to the low power setting on the test meter and bring that to 0.4 watt, which is there. So now we've got 4 watts on full power and 0.4 on low power, just as it should be. So we'll do the deviation while we're here. And there's me thinking it was going to be a 3.5 watter. I say they do usually go. Deviation is where? Is it that one? Yeah. Wallow, wallow, wallow. It's a little bit high now. Let's try it there. Wallow, that's it. So the power meter on the radio should be in the centre of the red zone. So let's key it up in 4 watt mode. It's a bit high, so we need to alter that. So it's RF meter, which is there. That's that. So now we'll go through the receiver. Checking we're still on frequency. We are. It does sound a bit nasty, this. So now put 100 microvolts on the signal generator. Switch the oscilloscope on, the bench light off. Select the oscilloscope on here. And then we'll find a detector coil, which I think is this one. Not with that tool, it isn't. So we're looking for maximum recovered audio. No, that's maximum recovered audio. That was correctly set. So now we'll go for the front end. So we'll go over to the SINAD meter. Put the bench light back on for a laugh. And we'll just whip through these. So we're about 4 dB on the SINAD meter, so we don't saturate the receiver. That was correctly set. That was correctly set. Let's put a bigger signal on for these. No, I think that wants a smaller signal. That's one that wants the bigger signal. We'll go back to 4 dB. Just make sure that's not a transmit one. Yes, it's a transmit one. That's my error. So there, and here. So I don't want to get the service manual out till tomorrow on this. Go back to a bigger signal. We'll be using the realistic service mode because it's so good. It's about where we're going to be. Let's go down these. I mean, I can't see I've made any ground here at all. I have to remember though, of course, these sets aren't as sensitive as Cybernet sets. Right, let's reread where we were. So let's get that on the 12 for 12 dB, and we'll read off on the attenuator what we've now got. Well, that says 1. It wasn't as bad as that before. I've fixed it worse. Right, we'll start again. Well, we'll come back to that as well because it's not coming out as well as it started. Not quite. Mind you, I might have improved it on the 20, I don't know, on the 20 dB setting. So, that aside, we'll go over to the SINAD meter with 100, the S meter on the radio with 100 microvolts, which is an S line signal. It's reading on the plus, it's about plus 10. So we need to set that so it's S9. It's a bit generous at the moment. So there's the signal meter. So I've not got the bottom on this, so I'm going to recheck the sensitivity and the tuning with the bottom on. And then that leaves us with squelch. I need to clean those controls too. So set squelch to full, and we should have it so that the squelch opens at 100 microvolts. We've got 100 microvolts on, and the squelch hasn't opened. So where's the squelch preset? There it is. Doesn't want to open either. So that's its most sensitive. It's not going to open at 100 microvolts, with where we'd like it to be. So let's see where it is at the other end. So we'll switch the signal generator to 0.3 of a microvolt, put it to standby, so we've parked it there, adjust the squelch to threshold, switch the signal generator back on, see when it comes in. See the microvolts? It's rubbish. Let's do that test again. More like bracket. So the squelch is opening at 0.9 and leaving us at 0.68. A bit better squelch usually on these than the Cybernet sets. So that's basically it. Just look at his letter again. It says PA facility doesn't work. We may have fixed that with the capacitors. May not have as well. PA facility now works. So that's yeah, that's sorted that out. Good. I'll come back to this tomorrow. We'll call it a day. I think it's 9 o'clock. And I've been at it since 6:20 this morning. Right, I put the bottom on this, and it's the next day early in the morning before we've gone on the day's huge mission. I've decided to do the 455 IF, shall we say, properly in inverted commas, using a separate signal generator. Normally we can just do the hsad meter and everything's going to work out hunky-dory, but for some reason on this set it doesn't. Now this doesn't generate tones. I've got a cheap Chinese signal generator, which is the one I use for as a second one, and this doesn't seem to generate tones. Well, I don't know how to do it unless there's some external. There's probably some external input you've got to do, but we can still. I'll just go with the hsad meter, and we can still go through the IF now with this signal generator on. So we know we're getting this spot on 455. Ah, now that one was a bit out. This is just loosely coupled with a with the red and black lead coming out of the signal generator. I'm not going to touch the detector, that's correct. So that shouldn't be affected because that's going to be not 455. Oh, it is. That's probably where the error is. Just going to move that further away to, seeing as this doesn't have a very meaningful attenuator. Right, so we'll turn that back off, go to normal signal generator, and we'll go through it again. I'm not got picture-in-picture on. Let's see what we've got now. You know, everything I do on this, it's getting worse. After that meticulous effort, we're now at 1.5 microvolts for 12 decimal hsad. What on earth is going on? Well, it's now at It was 0.82. It's now 0.92. I don't know what's changed. So what we are going to do, this is fiddling while Rome burns. We're going to do the VCO, which I didn't do yesterday. I've got the realistic 2000 and 2001 manual out, and we will do the VCO. I don't think there's anything amiss with that at all. It's not giving me any indication, but it's all part of what we do. So we want test point 1. Which is resistor 52, which is the one poking out there. Still can't remember whether these are floating chassis or whether they are negative earth or what they are. So we'll just put the earth on there and see whether we've got full rail voltage. We have, yeah. So on transmit, what they want us to do, I'm going to have to find a mic. So that's what I do. I don't have the mic connected or something, and then the negative prod falls off. So they want it to be 3.5 volts with L17. Very minutely out. What I will just say is that's at channel 40. I've just realised that. So I didn't need to adjust that. Apologies, radio. I think you were right where you are, so we'll put you back right. Channel 40, 3.5 volts. That'll do nicely. And then we need to go to channel 20 and on receive, where are we, L18. Well, what they want you to do is to put in an oscilloscope on test point 3, which is resistor 6, and they want you to tune L18 for maximum. Just out of interest, I'll see whether we can see it on the meter. We can't see it on the meter, so we'll do as they say under the circumstances. And we'll get the oscilloscope out. Rather than use the two bench ones which are set up for the primary function of setting up the detector and setting up the audio on transmit, we'll use the portable oscilloscope. It's cheaper and quicker to have more than one instrument, I tell you. So put that on earth. And that on test point 6. Resistor 6, which is test point 3. I could do with that being lower. There we go. I'll just press the auto button. Wasn't that easy? So we're wanting to adjust L18 for maximum. Maximum right down there. How weird. And then we take it from there, starting with L6. L5. L4. I'm just making sure we haven't missed anything out. L3. L2. L1. I think they're doing that the wrong way round, but I hate to say it, I could be more experienced than them. L19 is that one. Yeah, that's correct. So I'll take that off. So we've set the VCO, and that initial injection absolutely as per manual. I just think this set's been played with such a lot. Normally you don't have this kind of aggro. See whether that's improved anything at all. No, it's made it worse. Okay, I'm going to look at the service manual. I just wonder if we've got an electrolytic capacitor somewhere in the front end, and I just wonder whether it's robbing some of the. I'll use the computer to do this because it's not a brilliant copy. Right, back onto this radio. What I had come to conclusion, I wanted to change some of the capacitors in the receiver, and I think it was capacitor 5, 14 and 18, this and this, and I think that one. And when I took those out, they were all faulty as well. So I've decided to do a total recap. The customer hasn't asked me to do that, but I have decided to do it because this has been the fact that that capacitor had got its top popping out. It tells me this radio at some time in its life has been on a voltage around 16 volts or higher. So hopefully this is all Nichicon capacitors gone in, and hopefully we'll get more out of the receiver now, because the fact I was retuning it and it was getting worse. Okay, so I've done that and we're back working. Just gone through the front end again, and of course with the changing capacitors there's going to be a change. So I've just gone through that, and as you can see we're at the 12 dB. Now if I take the camera down to the attenuator controls, you'll see we're at 0.78. So it has improved it, but I'm sorry that I've had to do the capacitors. But I've had to. You could see it was changing. I could see it was changing. Every time I came back to it, it was getting worse. Oh, that's the previous set. Where's his letter gone? And we'll put it back together. I just want to clean the volume control. It's a bit crackly. This will actually work better than it ever did, because the capacitors I'm putting in are higher quality than ever were put in. So there you go. It's not often I resort to doing that, but on this occasion the radio has been 16 volted at some time in its life. And I mean, he's owned it since '95, but he realises he bought it off a twiddler. So I'll solder the speaker back together, back on and we'll do that volume control. Okay, so to conclude the video, got it back together. PA's still working. And let's see. One Anna Roger.
I've just not been feeling right the last couple of days. Either stereo.
Nineteen Roger. I think we'll go to the Mega Chippy channel. So, 3 conversations taking place, and 2 of them sounded sensible, and then you got the usual whatever goes on channel 19. I'll just clean that with my t-shirt. Right, so that's been recapped. It now works a treat. I couldn't think of anything else to do because the performance kept changing, and I say the first 8 capacitors I took out were faulty, so I thought I'll just carry on and do it. So, Uniden 100, late version, black front. I think they were about 1983. Thanks for watching.